let's sort of start out by talking about what are the insights that you've gotten from high performers about what they do that applies to us.
When I say high performance, I will talk about athletes as much as you want, but we also have worked with the most elite military groups, people that run huge corporations,
Executive athletes
that don't even exercise, I guess is my point. So when I say high performer, I mean the smartest people, the best decision makers, the people that this is high performance for us, right? Physical sports is one avenue, but performance could be, again, you're a better writer, you're more creative. We work with some of the most famous musicians in the world, right? These are high performers to us. So answering that question, what do people that perform at these high levels, physically, mentally, cognitively, creatively, whatever, there's not one thing that they all do. Some of them eat really well. Some have no concept what they're eating. Some of them are metabolically healthy. Some are not. Everything you can imagine here, I would say I could show you an example of somebody who's the best in the world and they don't do any of those things, right? I think the one lesson from all of them, though, would be, in general, being tough helps. And tough is great because tough can be built. So if you are running companies and you do not want to get up on Saturday and you don't want to work and you're tough, you can get it done, right? If you're an athlete and you have to go talk to the media about why you suck today, that's really hard. They don't feel hard in the weight room when they're lifting weights and when they're exercising, when they're tired. But maybe being in front of a camera is really hard for them. Sitting in front of the GM and them telling you, like, you're not going to play this year, we're cutting your... Those are hard conversations that most people don't realize happen at professional levels, not just sports, but running companies, having a hard conversation with a kid, with an adult. Like, those are really tough. So my biggest lesson from those people is the ones that tend to be tough tend to do the best more often.
And how do you get to be tough?
It's a learnable thing. It is a practice. In the sense of physical tough is fine, right? You can do that. But it is the ones that I just talked about of saying, okay,
mental toughness.
Start when you can, right? So have that first conversation and it's going to be awful and go poorly, and then keep doing it. Expect failure. Expect it to not go great. And then you just have to trust the fact that you need to get to here. And the first time you lifted weights, you didn't, squat 1,000 pounds. And so the first time you learn this skill or this practice or whatever, it's not going to be pretty, but you keep going. And if you can believe that, then you can get past that. That is developing toughness. It is developing skill. If you're Cam Hanes, you're tough no matter what. Cam Hanes' kid just ran like a 2:30 marathon in jeans and then did 10,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
What?
The Hanes gene is incredible. They genetically are just super tough.
That seems harder than running 250 miles.
Nuts, right?
10,000 pull-ups.
10,000 pull-ups in 24 hours.
I don't think I can do 20.
I think his other kid ran the marathon with like 45 pounds on his back and in like combat boots.
Yeah, I went to med school with a family like that. Those guys were just like, he would put on 50 pounds and go skiing for 2 hours, cross-country skiing up in the mountains.
We had another guy, actually, Lance McCullers Jr., Texas guy, plays for the Astros. He just pitched last week for the first time in like 3.5 years. And the toughness he had to have for those 3.5 years, because he kept getting hurt. Everybody got mad at him. All the fans, you're taking all of our team's money, like all these things. His tough was like, we have a 3 or 4 year horizon. We have to get through this. And I don't get to do the thing I like at all.
Because he was injured. And he had to recover.
Hurt. And then he kept getting hurt. And just, so there are different forms of toughness. And the only way to build those things is just continuing to go after those, to continuing to try, show back up. You fell off your diet, fine. It's okay, be tough. Get it going again. You lapsed.
What is that saying? When the going gets tough, the tough get going?
Yeah, like grit, however you want to like
grit. Yeah,
connect
grit.
To you on this
there's
one, right?
actually an incredible book written about this.
Yeah.
By, I think a UPenn professor about
grit.
Angela
Duckworth's grit book.
As a key strategy for success in life.
It's hugely important. The grit of dealing with your 5-year-old who just like won't.
But why do some people have grit and some people don't? Some people like stub their toe and they're off work for 6 months. Other people, they're like in a car accident and they're working as soon as they can open their eyes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a little bit out of my area. I can tell you one thing. I know Andrew Huberman, a friend of mine. You're friends with Andrew.
Of course. Yeah.
he talks a lot about some of the new data in the last couple of years about there's specific areas of the brain that are developed when you push through on discomfort. Mm-hmm. And so there's actual physical structure that gets smaller when you don't do that very often. It gets larger when you do it more often. And so that was like a pretty new finding.
No way. So you can exercise your way.
You can exercise?
I mean, metaphorically exercise your tough part of your brain.
100%.
By doing the hard things.
I think that if you would pull up the neuroscientists in the room here, I think they would all largely agree with that.
Yeah.
Statement.
I experienced this recently. I was, had an unfortunate situation with my back and ended up, having pretty severe back surgery, and I lost 15 pounds.
Yikes.
And I was in bed for a bit, and it was tough. And when I got out and I literally couldn't walk, I had a walker. And so, 4 months ago, I was on a walker and couldn't walk. And I literally had to, from within a week or maybe the day after my surgery, I had to start with physical therapy, which means I had to stand up for the first time. I had to learn how to sit down in a chair as opposed to laying on my back. I had to learn how to stand up.
Yep.
I had to just learn how to walk without a walker and a cane. And then I had to learn how to walk without a cane. And then, it was, and I remember just feeling like crap. Like after you go through that, I had no energy. I had slept for 4 hours a night for 6 weeks. I was exhausted. And every day I got in the gym and I worked with my physical therapist and I worked with my trainer. And even when I was like, just want to lay in bed and binge on Netflix and disappear from the world, I got up there and did it because I knew that if I just put one foot in front of the other and if I just built those building blocks, that I could get back. And I've gained 20 pounds back. I have my energy back. Nice. I have my strength back. I'm fitter than I was before the surgery. I'm in less pain. And it was like, but that, I think, like my doctor said to me, look, Mark, most people who went through what you went through would still be on a walker at this point. Yeah. And you're like in the gym every day lifting weights and,
Yeah, well, you had probably
running 3 businesses. And,
you had that skill because of residency, because of probably 1,000 other things you've done within your life where you know what resistance looks like. You know what then getting over it, you don't want to do it, but you know what the back end looks like, right? And there was probably many days where you failed. You didn't do it but you know what that wall looks like.
I did the best I could, which was, not as intense or as much as I could do.
Yeah. As a scientist, you learn this pretty early one way or the other. When you try to publish papers, you go through peer review. Peer review is just a nice way of saying everybody gets to tell you how terrible your paper is.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can't handle things like criticism, you learn to develop it, right? You have to get tough in that sense of saying, okay, great. They're probably right there. If you're out in the public sphere, if the first time you get a mean comment on social media and you just want to get back on there and fire back away, okay, you can develop that toughness over time. And so wherever tough means to you in different areas, it can be worked on, it can be improved if you expose yourself. You have to keep exposing. You had to show up to the gym.
It reminds me of that quote by Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
There you go.
And just like one step. And for so many people, it's hard to take that one step, to make that one incremental change in your life or your behaviors or your diet or your exercise or your sleep routine or whatever it is, to actually start to compound the benefit that you see over time.
We always say the hard part about making changes in life is acceleration, not velocity. So here's what I mean. If you are used to waking up and running 5 miles every morning, running 5 miles is not hard because that is the constant velocity you're at.
Yeah.
But if you are used to running 0 miles and you go to run 1 mile, that is a huge difference. That is far harder than the person who runs 5 every day.
It's true.
Because it's acceleration. It's change of direction. It's massive start. It's massive stop, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That is the hard part. But you have to always remind yourself, acceleration is going to be harder. But once you get past that and that becomes the norm, then this will be easy.
Yeah.
And so it's just getting through that mentality or reminding yourself constantly of it's going to be hard. It's going
because if you're 300 pounds, trying to get down to 150 is a very daunting idea.
Impossible feeling.
Right? But it's possible, one little step at a time. And I've seen this dozens and dozens of times with my patients. if once they sort of catch the threshold where they realize they can do it,
Yeah.
and they have the right information, they have some early wins, it's powerful to see what can happen to people.
Yeah, you want to, in the cases like that, when people are trying to make dramatic changes, where we have found the most consistent success is you have to get some consistent practice.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So don't worry about getting a really expensive sleep study done and blood work done and all this stuff. I don't care if your plan is perfect at all. Give me consistency. The weight will start coming off. Now we'll get the plan better. We'll give you some
Nike kind of had it right. Just do it.
Just do it.
If you love that last video, you're going to love the next one. Check it out here.